everyone. My name is Ty, and you're listening to Ty and Sky's Health Pub. I'm joined by Skylar.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful, and I have been sitting down waiting from part 2, waiting for the answer to my question.
Yes, the question that actually kicked off this whole 3-part series for us. So as I mentioned, to kind of take you back all the way to the beginning of this, I was sitting around chatting with a chap. And this chap had a very, very interesting question that just blew my mind at the time because it was something that I had not thought about for a very, very long period of time. He asked me, how can I get the smallpox vaccine? My mom would really like me to get the smallpox vaccine because she fears that smallpox may be a thing again. I'm just wondering who I can talk to about getting this vaccine.
Sounds like the black market. I get.
The black, yep. So I turned him to the dark web.
Oh no!
And I think he became vaccinated. So he's good now for 3 to 5 years.
Oh wow!
But no.
Then he's got to go back.
Then he's got to go back to the dark web. So,
Mom, I need your credit card.
in a quick review, routine vaccination of the American public stopped in 1972. So it's been quite a few years since then. The disease was eradicated in the United States and the world, and that's why they decided we don't need to routinely vaccinate the public anymore. The last naturally acquired case of the major form of smallpox was identified in Bangladesh late in the year 1975. And the last case of illness caused by any form of smallpox, it was the less virulent strain called variola minor, occurred in Somalia in 1977. So as we mentioned in the very first episode, the disease was declared eradicated in the year 1980. So the smallpox vaccine is not currently available to the general public. Because this virus has been eradicated. It no longer exists in nature. So the short answer to the question is you can't get vaccinated. But there is an asterisk there. There is a few asterisks there, actually. So just kind of as a citizen, it's not super easy as a citizen of the United States for me to just go get vaccinated for smallpox. However, like this gentleman's mother was concerned about, the concern of smallpox being used as a bioterrorism weapon still remains. As we just pointed out, very few people have been vaccinated against smallpox since the 1970s here in the United States. So we have a major population of people with no immunity to smallpox. So you can imagine that it would spread pretty quickly if used as a bioterrorism weapon. Just being, again, that it's spread through people coughing on one another, through people coming into contact with clothing or bedding that had scab material in it, or from people coming in contact with that scab material or the pus from the blisters that form just from a person who has this illness. So very contagious illness and a whole population that is not really immune because they have not been vaccinated.
It's kind of a unique study. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut in too much, but it's kind of like a unique case of when we think about herd immunity, where because we're no longer vaccinating for it, we're kind of at a point where we're actually very susceptible to it.
Yes.
As well.
We would be.
So it's tough, right? Like it's a hard thing to manage because, it's gone, but what if it came back, like just like in the scary movies, what if it comes back? How will we prepare for it? And, I kind of imagine that like this is my vision of it, right? It's kind of down in a bunker somewhere, right? Locked up, right? In some type of pad, just like like a treasure chest, like a treasure trove of all these vaccines, right? Smallpox vaccine. And it's like, sir, we're ready. And then, they just, unlock it with a really cool key. And then they, start bringing it out, big guys with guns on their backs starts carrying them to a truck or something. That's kind of how I picture it.
I picture that scene at the end of the Indiana Jones movie where it's locked up in a government facility in a box and being wheeled away in a room full of boxes that you can't even see the back wall of.
We'll never see it again.
It's with the Ark of the Covenant.
Yep.
But no, so there is actually there's maybe some truth to the picture in your head, Skylar. Because the concern for bioterrorism use of smallpox still remains, the U.S. government and many other world governments has stockpiled enough smallpox vaccine to vaccinate everyone who would need it if a smallpox outbreak was to occur. So the U.S. government actually has stores of vaccine for all of us in the very maybe scary chance that an outbreak would occur. So we're going to go through kind of two scenarios. We're going to go through the current scenario, and then we're going to go through an outbreak situation. So,
this is going to be good.
Yes. So as things sit today, if there is no outbreak, like we are currently at here in 2018, the only people who get vaccinated are lab workers who work with the virus that causes smallpox or other viruses that are similar to smallpox. And there actually was a push a little while back that we were discussing where the government wanted to vaccinate a certain amount of healthcare workers who would volunteer, who would then have immunity in the case that bioterrorism outbreak of the disease would take place, so that these people could be on the front lines helping vaccinate other people.
Right, and this was back in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, and they... this is also included military personnel as well. There was, still a lot of hesitation about it, and some people outright refused it. It was kind of pushed as something for people to get because, kind of in the post-11, period.
Post-9/11.
Post-9/11 period. It was really, there was concern of biological warfare. Smallpox was definitely up there on the list of considerations. Probably not at the highest, but... it was something that people wanted protection against. But at the same time, the side effects that we discussed, and if you're looking for those, you can check part 2 of our podcast. There's just a lot of hesitation about taking something that has the chance, even if it's a very minimal chance, of causing a fatality. It's very hard for us to say, oh, well, the risk of this happening versus the risk of this happening. It's kind of like before we brought up the figures of, if you had the disease, you had a 1 in 7 chance of death versus a 1 in 70 if you had taken a previous, treatment method.
And again, that was when they were vaccinating with smallpox virus itself at those times. Yes.
Right. And so... It's important to just kind of keep in mind that even like we might think of it like Umbrella Corporation, or if this was a zombie apocalypse outbreak scenario, right? It would be the equivalent of us looking at the vaccines being like, I don't know if I want to take this. Like, that's what it was like in 2003. Even still, despite the advancements, despite everything, there was still a lot of controversy surrounding it.
Well, I just think, if people thought, again, you're weighing likelihood. And maybe some of the people that did not want to get the vaccine at that time just thought that the likelihood of it being used as a bioterrorism weapon was pretty low. And like we talked about, you do end up with a permanent scar. That's kind of the main thing that most people experience. Those that are not immune compromised, as we talked about in part 2, can expect to kind of go through this period where they have a blister form and then it forms a permanent scar on their upper arm. And it didn't seem like a very fun process for that vaccination.
No,
either.
not at all.
So, but we did. So basically those that are able to receive the vaccine up until this point were our lab workers and those that volunteered to get it, who were military personnel and different healthcare providers during that push that was done, like Skylar said, early in the 2000s. However, that is in a no outbreak situation. Now we're going to go into our 28 days later situation, our smallpox outbreak situation. The outbreak has happened. Smallpox is now a thing again after not being a thing since 1977. It's spreading person to person, and we need to figure out how to knock the pox back off the blocks.
Do you think people would go back to older ways of treating smallpox if for whatever reason they did not have access to these updated vaccines, right? Like, do you think people would look back at history and say, what did they do? What did, because we talked about the Chinese physicians before. Do you think they would go into utilizing methods like that to treat it?
I would hope not, because as we found out since developing these newer vaccines, spreading or inoculating using the smallpox virus itself set up a person to spread the smallpox virus or die from it in the process of trying to become immune. Even though that chance was lower than dying from just getting the virus naturally, still would hope that people would hold out for the vaccine that the government would be offering.
This is just like the plot from a very special TV series. And I don't want to, spoil it because it's a major plot of it.
Okay, well, we don't want to have any spoilers.
Let's just say it involves some zombies and
Okay.
That's all I can say.
You're very cryptic, Skylar.
I have to be. The CDC's involved. It's very popular. That's all I'm gonna say.
They must be done saving people from romaine lettuce by that point.
Yeah, I think on their to-do list, it was like zombie outbreak, romaine lettuce. You know what? Romaine lettuce. Let's get it done. We can achieve this. We can get a score 1.
We have the technology.
We can do this.
So back to our outbreak situation. Romaine lettuce problem has been solved, but smallpox problem is not. So smallpox is out there. Who can get vaccinated? So anybody directly exposed to the virus, meaning anybody who has prolonged face-to-face contact with an infected person, somebody who has those blisters, can receive the virus. Also, those that as far as we talk about when would be the opportune moment to get vaccinated. So we're going to put you, listener, in a few different scenarios and tell you whether or not the vaccine would be great for you to get, or it's too late and you're probably just going to get smallpox. So,
oh no,
so we have the different stages on our immune to screwed scale. So
what a scale!
So if you are a person in the stage before you have contact with the virus, so you have not even come into contact with the virus, maybe a friend has the virus, you're going to be around them, but you have not had any direct contact with the virus. If you go and get vaccinated, the smallpox vaccine can protect you from getting ill. If you maybe did not know your friend had smallpox and were like, hey, we've been hanging out for a while, playing Resident Evil 7 on PSVR, wonderful game. But I just noticed, and just am first asking you, you've kind of had these pustules or small red spots all over your body, these blisters, for about 3 days. What are those? And your friend's like, dude, I have smallpox. So this is
what a casual way to bring that up.
He just drops that. He just drops that on you. So
we've just been side by side playing Resident Evil for the past hour, and I'm pretty sure you yelled at me at some point.
So within 3 days of being exposed to the virus, the vaccine might protect you from getting the disease. So we changed from the vaccine can and will protect you to the vaccine might if you get it within 3 days of being exposed. However, it's still important for you to get the vaccine because even if you get smallpox, you might end up with a version of smallpox. You might get much less sick than if you remained unvaccinated.
Oh, that's useful.
Yep. So it may dampen the disease the disease that you suffer. So basically, either you will be immune to the disease, or you'll get a lighter version. It'll be like, instead of drinking the whole Pepsi, you'll have Pepsi Zero or Pepsi Light.
Awesome.
So if you wanted some more time to think about it after your VR session, maybe you just got too into the game. And it's been now 4 to 7 days since you were exposed with your friend. The vaccine will likely give you some protection from the disease, but again, still not, we've moved our terminology. We're not saying that it will prevent the disease at this point. It'll likely give you some protection, and if you still get the disease, you might not get as sick as an unvaccinated person. So basically in this 4 to 7 day window from when you were exposed, still important for you to get the vaccine in an outbreak situation, because it'll either make you not as ill as if you had not gotten the vaccination.
It's also just acts as a treatment method, period. Like, I mean, it seems like in those couple of days, like, say if you had smallpox, it's like, yeah, just give me the vaccine anyway, because, it could help reduce some of those symptoms, like, and it could possibly ease, any pain that the person's experiencing as well. So
exactly,
within a given time frame, of course. And
it's important for us to note that even within this 4 to 7 day period, this would be still while you yourself were in the incubation period. So at that point, you're probably not having these blisters form on your body. So you would have to get this done before you see these blisters. Once you have developed the smallpox rash, you are at the far end of our scale. The vaccine will not protect you. You are at the screwed end of our scale. You are going to have smallpox once the rash develops. If it's within 7 days of you having contact or before you have contact with a person with the virus, get the vaccine. Because if it's been a few days, you're still going to have some sort of protection and still likely will not get as sick as you would if you remained unvaccinated. If you have not come into contact with anybody with smallpox and it's spreading, definitely get the virus. It will and can protect you from getting sick. However, once you have this rash, it's too late. You're going to have smallpox. That is the point of no return.
And it's scary to think that, even when you look at the medical community, it's not like they are, they're actively, there are, like we've talked before, like lab workers that are working with smallpox.
Or viruses similar.
But, actively working with a patient that has smallpox, like some doctors have, they don't have that experience. Like they've never encountered a patient with smallpox. So, it's kind of like, that's a big deal. And so, there is some silver lining to it all, though. And the good thing is that, as soon as one case is if it was found that one case of smallpox was in the United States, I'm pretty sure things would roll out pretty well to try to combat it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's essentially, just like we were talking before, it'd be like, just like in Indiana Jones, right? They would actually they know where it's at, they're not going to lose it, they're going to go track it down. And then they would quickly, set up the area, probably containment area. And they'd just try to, get people vaccinated in that area to try to eliminate it before, kind of like what they did previously.
Before it gains a foothold. Yep.
Definitely. So, it's largely about prevention. And there are cases, and this goes back to the whole bioterrorism, concern. What if it's like a large introduction of it, where it's not just like one person is the, alpha, or the original case that is spreading it on to, or the point of origin of the disease.
Yeah.
What happens if it's in multiple sections? And then it's really dependent on how we deploy our stockpile of vaccines. I think though that there are plans, that have been developed to kind of combat that scenario as well. I just don't want people to think the CDC is like sitting on their hands, like not doing anything. They're kind of actively preparing for any sort of major outbreak.
Definitely.
Especially this one.
And I think that this whole smallpox story is a very interesting one to kind of bring up. Again, like we discussed in the very first episode, it's not really a disease process that I thought about in a long time. It's not one that we really talk about much because it was such a public health success. We as humanity, dating all the way back to those Chinese physicians that we talked about and their ingenious methods of inoculating people and making them immune using pulverized scab material. From there up into 1977, when the last case in the world was noted. We've come such a long way, and there's been so many different individuals who have kind of brought us to this point. The work of so many different people and sacrifice of so many different people, like the young Mr. Phipps, who got us to the point where we were able to completely get rid of an entire disease that was disfiguring, that was killing millions of people over the years. It's gone.
It's one of those rare cases. Like it's a rare case of world health coming together. Like people from all over the world working on a problem, because it is a problem that is not just, it's not just simply an American problem. It's not just an English problem. It's not just a Chinese problem. These different points of areas may have their own individual way on how they handle an outbreak. But, you can just look at the news anytime that there's a particular outbreak, in another part of the world, we're usually pretty notified about it rather quickly. There's concern there, and people, actively, work in other places to help alleviate those outbreaks. I think it's, public health has always, prided itself on wanting to help the general population. And I think when you look at global health, it's the next step. And so it's, and this is especially one of those cases where, hundreds of years of development. It's amazing.
It is. No, it truly is. It's kind of almost very motivating and inspirational to think of of the accomplishments that humankind have made, and this is definitely one of the major ones. Completely eliminating a disease process from the face of the earth. It's pretty cool. I think smallpox is important to reflect back on, to not let the fact that the disease is pretty much largely is considered eradicated. Only exists in very small, like lab type settings, and is not naturally occurring in the world at all anymore. I think remembering that can bring a lot of inspiration to life, and remembering that it was human action that kind of gained a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more knowledge, and the needle was moved.
Right.
Further and further throughout the ages, to the point where, large coordinated vaccination efforts were able to get rid of this disease.
It's just like football. We got a first down, at certain points, and then we finally scored and won the game.
You can tell Skylar and I sports so much.
But, we got to be ready for the next game. We really got to be ready, we can't let one win get to our head, right? We got to always forever be vigilant and ready to throw a Hail Mary if we need to at any time and win the game.
Exactly. And there are still plenty of, deadly, disfiguring diseases out there that are unfortunately affecting, humans around the world. So we do need to keep working together as humankind to end human suffering, the same way that all the individuals that we have discussed, all those that went unnamed and named throughout the series of podcasts here, have done together. So pretty cool stuff. Hope that we can see more stories like more success stories like smallpox in the future. But thank you guys for tuning in. We've had a great time discussing this really cool topic over the last 3 podcasts. We hope you guys have enjoyed listening to it as well.
Yeah, and let us know about any other, diseases that you'd like this type of style of breakdown as well.
Yeah.
If there's anything that you're curious about, just please let us know, and we'd be more than happy to kind of bring it up and have a fun little discussion on it, because there are, there's so many misconceptions out there, specifically about diseases and vaccines. Trying to find reliable information on it can sometimes be a challenge. So we
Agreed.
really want to hear from you guys, and, just, let us know what's on your mind. Even if it's hey, Skylar, your football analogy was stupid. Just, you can say that. Okay. Just, I'll be fine. I'll take it to heart.
Well, as always, guys, let's raise our glasses. I'll start us out on this one.
Sounds good.
To knowledge good and true, to the future health of youth, and the prosperity that they bring. Cheers.